Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Bahak Kadash. All praises, honor, glory, love, respect, faith, and power, and trust, and all credit to my Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and my Heavenly Big Brother, Yahweh Shah. Thank you so much for what you've done, what you're doing, and what you're going to do. Double honors to the apostles and elders and bishops of GMS, great millstone, who I learned from, and all the men scattered all over the world, teaching this truth and nothing but the truth in the name, spirit, and the power of Yahweh Bashem Shah. Trying to put a spiritual bug in you Hebrew Israelites' ears, you so-called Blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, and you speckled birds. And what is a speckled bird? They be a Hebrew Israelite that look like some of the heathen nations, like for example, a Hebrew Israelite that look like a so-called white person, so-called Chinese person, etc., etc. Got some videos lined up of America not looking so good internationally. Anyway, I'm going to play these videos. I'm going to get into the scripture my best ability, say whatever God say through spirit and power, Yahweh Bashem Shah, the Holy Spirit, the Krahak Kadash, Lord, want to be on me. Let's get it.
The New York Times published an opinion piece on Saturday that says what establishment media has avoided stating directly for months. Trump's Iran war marks a watershed in the decline of the American empire. The piece argues imperial systems last only as long as their means are adequate to their ends, and with the Iran war, President Trump has overextended the empire dangerously. So this isn't fringe analysis anymore. This is the paper of record acknowledging that American power just broke against a regional adversary, and the consequences will define the next decade of geopolitics. When the establishment admits the empire is failing, it's because the evidence is so overwhelming they can't spin it anymore. I'm El, I have a PhD in computer science, and I use data analysis to spot patterns in geopolitics and economics. Here's why this matters beyond one opinion column. The Times piece captures what's been measurable for weeks, but politically unsayable in mainstream discourse. Trump depleted critical military stockpiles for a war that accomplished nothing. The US has already used 1,100 long-range stealth cruise missiles earmarked for potential conflicts in Asia, leaving just 1,500 in the stockpile. It fired an additional 1,000 Tomahawk cruise missiles, about 10 times as many as the military buys in an average year. Those weapons were meant to deter China in the Pacific, and now they're gone. Spent on a Middle East war that didn't remove Iran's nuclear program, didn't topple the regime, and left the Strait of Hormuz under Iranian control for 2 months.
There's a contract most retail traders have never heard of. It's called XSP. It's not a stock, it's not an ETF, but it's built to mirror.
Can't goddamn find my cursor. Shit.
America would need to send a significant portion of its armed forces, which total only 1.3 million troops, to stand a chance of subduing Iran, and that force, if successful, would have to stay for a long time. The US doesn't have that capacity while maintaining commitments in Europe, Asia, and the Western Hemisphere. The Times notes that in 1991, 1 million soldiers from more than 40 countries were needed to reverse Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, a country less sophisticated than Iran and a fraction of its size. Trump launched this war assuming precision strikes would be enough. They weren't. The irony the Times identifies as perfect. Trump was supposed to avoid exactly this kind of overextension. His national security strategy stated, I'm quoting, "The days in which the Middle East dominated American foreign policy are thankfully over." He campaigned on retrenchment, focused on the Western Hemisphere, let Europe handle its own security, stop wasting resources on Middle Eastern nation building. Then Netanyahu convinced him to launch the largest American military operation in the Middle East since Iraq, and Trump just went along with it. The Times argues this demonstrates Trump's gullibility gave Netanyahu a last chance to drag America into an anachronistic adventure before US power declined too far to be useful. But here's what the Times piece misses. This was not gullibility, it was more like hubris. Trump believed American military dominance was so overwhelming that he could bomb Iran into submission without ground troops, without allied support, and without depleting resources needed elsewhere. Nobel economist Joseph Stiglitz already warned repairs to supply chains and oil infrastructure will take years. We have a separate video analysis on this. Harvard's Linda Biles estimated true cost will exceed $1 trillion. Germany's chancellor said publicly the US is being humiliated by Iran. Those are not fringe critiques. They're mainstream assessments from economists, allies, and now the New York Times. We've actually got a whole playlist on how Trump's policies are accelerating American decline. Check it out after this video. The Iran war is the clearest example yet. The Time lays out 3 options America now faces, and sadly they're all bad. It can desist in Iran, having demonstrated that its military is far less dominant than the world assumed. It can draw resources from theaters that are of vital national interest, such as Europe and East Asia, or it can resort to extreme military options. The piece concludes with the following quote, "The United States stands to lose its reputation, its friends, or its soul," and I think that framing is correct, but it's already happening on all 3 fronts simultaneously. Reputation, the UAE left OPEC and is considering pricing oil in yuan. We have another video analysis on that. Germany outproduces America in ammunition. King Charles defended NATO while Trump sat watching. Friends, Trump just pulled 5,000 troops from Germany in retaliation for Malta's criticism and threatened deeper cuts in Spain and Italy. Seoul, gas hit $4 while Trump rejected Iranian offers to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, then ordered shoot-to-kill rules that guaranteed prolonged closure. The Times compares America's position to Britain pre-World War I, deindustrializing, overcommitted, complacent. Britain was dependent on Germany for industrial and military technology, unwilling to re-examine the free trade system on which German human supremacy had been built on. By World War II, Britain was essentially bankrupt. The parallel is America's dependence on China today. That comparison is generous to the USA. Britain at least recognized its decline and managed retreat relatively successfully after the Suez Canal in 1956. Trump now is doing the opposite, launching new wars while allies build alternatives. The piece also notes Trump voters asked a genuine question: if globalism is so great, why have we borrowed $35 trillion since adopting it? That is the right question, I think, but Trump's answer, launch a $1 trillion war in Iran, impose tariffs that spike inflation, pull troops from allies as punishment, makes the problem catastrophically worse. The Times concludes, events, alas, have proved him right about elites defending globalism against voters' interests, but Trump isn't fixing that. He is the final stage of elite failure, breaking what's left of American credibility through incompetent overreach. When thinking about how empires collapse through strategic overreach rather than military defeat, my book, 10% Times, won't say directly, but the data shows clearly. Allies are already organizing for a post-American world. Europe built a 40-nation coalition to clear Hormuz without U.S. involvement. 6 European governments forced officials off American messaging apps. Germany discovered 43 million tons of lithium to break Chinese battery dominance. Jerome Powell stated the Fed specifically to block Trump. These are not reactions to American decline, they're preparations for operating without American leadership entirely. The contradiction the Times identifies is real but understated. Imperial systems work when means match ends. America's means, $1 trillion military budget, reserve currency status, alliance networks, are substantial for sure, but the ends Trump's pursuing, reshaping the Middle East, containing China, dominating the Western Hemisphere, maintaining European commitments, exceed available capacity. Every missile spent on Iran is one unavailable for Taiwan, for example. Every troop pulled from Germany weakens deterrence against Russia. Every ally that builds independent capacity is leverage America permanently loses. The establishment is finally admitting what's been obvious for many months. Trump broke American power by using it recklessly. The Iran war depleted stockpiles, alienated allies, demonstrated military limits, and cost over $1 trillion for zero strategic gain. Iran still enriches uranium. The regime did not fall. Hormuz stays closed for 2 months, even more. Gas hit $4. Europe organized without Washington. The UAE left OPEC, and now the New York Times is publishing pieces on imperial decline. When the paper of record moves from challenges to decline, that is a strong signal the narrative has shifted. The question isn't whether American hegemony is ending, it is how chaotic the transition will be and whether America manages retreat competently or collapses into further overreach. Based on Trump pulling troops from Germany while threatening Spain and Italy, the answer looks like chaos to me. Trump just withdrew 5,000 troops from Germany for criticizing his Iran strategy and says deeper cuts are coming. We actually analyzed that retaliation in the video on your screen right now. Check it out next, because the troop withdrawal is one more data point in a pattern established.
Well, that's one video that's done. Let's get to some more embarrassment of America. Well, actually, I take that back, because Spirit Airlines, I think this is American, I think it started off in America, but, because they global anyway, but with the layoffs. Anyway, I'm going to play it.
Spirit Airlines seized up.
Yeah. It'd be USA Airlines is based in the U.S. and they're looking to get a bailout from Trump, and Trump says nope. Oh, and JetBlue is next. Anyway, let me get to it.
Operations early Saturday morning, May 2nd, after 34 years in business, becoming the first major U.S. airline in 25 years to go out of business due to financial problems. The decision put 17,000 workers out of a job, including 14,000 Spirit employees and thousands of contractors. All flights were canceled, customer service was shut down, and travelers were told not to come to the airport. It is with great disappointment that on May 2nd, 2026, Spirit Airlines started an orderly wind-down of our operations effective immediately, the airline said. The catalyst for this collapse wasn't market competition or mismanagement. It was jet fuel prices doubling after Trump closed the Strait of Hormuz in his war with Iran. Spirit is just the first casualty, and sadly, I don't think it's going to be the last. I'm Mel, I have a PhD in computer science, and I use data analysis to spot patterns in geopolitics and economics. Here's why this matters beyond just one airline's bankruptcy. While Spirit had been struggling for years and making a variety of contingency plans for how to get out of that mess, those plans were derailed amid soaring jet fuel costs sparked by the outbreak of the war with Iran. The company said back in February that it had reached a deal with creditors to emerge from its latest bankruptcy and stay in operation. The war in Iran started just 3 days later, causing the cost of jet fuel to soar. Spirit had a viable exit plan. Trump's war destroyed it within 8 weeks. After labor, jet fuel is the second biggest cost for airlines. When fuel prices double, airlines operating on very thin margins cannot really survive, and low-cost carriers like Spirit have the thinnest margins in the industry. The timeline becomes brutal. Let's just have a look very quickly. February, Spirit reaches bankruptcy exit deal. Late February, Trump and Israel bomb Iran. March, Strait of Hormuz closes, jet fuel prices spike. April, Spirit's bailout talks collapse. May 2nd, Spirit shuts down permanently. That is 10 weeks from viable recovery plan to liquidation, entirely because Trump launched a war war that closed the world's most critical oil choke point. Trump attempted to negotiate a $500 million lifeline for Spirit, but talks collapsed on May 1st when bondholders, including Citadel and PIMCO, refused the deal, preferring liquidation over risky reorganization. Well, we're looking at it, but if we can't make a good deal, no institution's been able to do it, Trump said on Friday. I'd like to save the jobs, but we'll have an announcement sometime today. By Saturday morning, Spirit was gone. 17,000 people woke up unemployed because creditors concluded jet fuel prices driven by Trump's war made Spirit unsalvageable. And I think the piece most coverage misses is that Spirit's collapse signals a broader industry crisis. David Neeleman, founder of JetBlue Airways, warned in mid-April that JetBlue could face bankruptcy by the end of 2026 if fuel prices remain above $4.50 per gallon. Neeleman referenced JP Morgan's analyst Jamie Baker's estimates showing JetBlue losing $1.3 billion this year at fuel prices already surpassed. That would probably put them into bankruptcy, I would assume, Neeleman told Breeze Airways pilots. JetBlue currently pays over $600 million annually in interest, a figure that could climb to $800 million if losses pile up. Spirit died, JetBlue is next unless fuel prices collapse. We've actually got a whole playlist on how Trump's Iran war is destroying the economy. Check it out after this video. The airline industry collapse is one visible casualty of a war that's breaking global supply chains. But let's just zoom in on what Spirit's shutdown looked like on the ground. Before dawn Saturday, Spirit's website and app were papered over with the message that operations had ended. I'm quoting, "To our guests, all flights have been cancelled and customer service..."
Shit, and all them folks left stranded, expecting to have a flight back and save money too, but no. Now they had to pay, I don't know, let's say they paying $300 for a trip to somewhere, a flight somewhere. Now it's canceled. Now they got to pay $2,000 for that shit. Going somewhere, flying on another airline.
This is no longer available. By noon,
I don't even know if they have the money.
LaGuardia's Marine Air Terminal was nearly silent, with the last TSA officer sent home early. Screens on yellow kiosks said, "We regret to inform you that Spirit Airlines has ceased global operations." John Jackson, a Spirit captain, was supposed to fly his retirement flight on Saturday, but his airline shut down before he could. 34 years of operation ended in the middle of the night with text messages to crew saying stop flying. Wes Egan, a Spirit dispatcher for roughly 23 years, was working in Orlando late Friday when senior managers informed staff around 11:30 p.m. that operations were about to cease. He sent a text message to a pilot via cockpit alert system saying, "Unofficially, we stopped flying at 3 a.m. EST on 2nd of May. That is how 17,000 people learned they would lose their jobs. Corporate messages sent hours before shutdown while they were still working. United Airlines said about 14,000 Spirit customers booked tickets on United on Saturday. Southwest said it took in more than 20,000. United, Frontier, American, Southwest, and JetBlue capped fares to get travelers home, but customers who booked flights using vouchers, credits, or free Spirit points may never get refunds. Companies that go out of business typically stop honoring rewards after they cease operations. Millions of travelers holding Spirit vouchers or loyalty points just lost that value entirely. The Association of Flight Attendants sent a message to members early Saturday, I'm quoting, "We are delivering the hardest news of our lives that Spirit will permanently cease operations at 3 a.m. Eastern Time on May 2nd. While the country has had a blast making Spirit the butt of the joke, we've built a strength together that could withstand anything that anyone throws at us." That is what the union said, and that final line is very pointed, I think. Spirit's employees withstood industry mockery, pandemic disruption, and 2 bankruptcies. What they could not withstand was jet fuel prices doubling because Trump closed the Strait of Hormuz. The financial mechanism grinding underneath is very straightforward here. Larger airlines have been able to mitigate the impact by increasing fees and fares and cutting flights.
I'm gonna stop right there. If you want to watch the rest of the video, they go to channel and they go to title of the video. We'll move on to another one. Everybody heard about this. If you haven't, then where the hell you been at, bro? Shit, let's get to the next one. And there are some people that don't know shit. These some dumb motherfuckers out here. They don't know what's going on in the world, and hey, that let you know. Hey, how I'm trying to say this? How am I trying to say this? It makes you feel more thankful and grateful to get this truth, and the Lord giving you the spirit to stay. Keep your ears. How you say? Just pay attention. Shit, the Lord gave you the spirit to pay attention to what's going on in the world. Keep watching. You know what I'm saying? Listening. Yeah. Let's get to the next video. More bad news for America.
President Donald Trump announced on Friday that he would raise tariffs on European-made cars to 25%, breaking a trade deal he signed with the European Union less than a year ago. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said the tariff hike was in response to the EU not complying with their fully agreed-to trade deal. That was a quote. "The absurdity is immediate. The trade deal is not fully agreed to. The EU is still in the process of ratifying it, and the Trump administration has not even asked Congress to approve it. Trump just accused Europe of breaking a deal that legally doesn't even exist yet, then broke it himself by hiking tariffs anyway. This is why Europe is systematically building alternatives tariffs to American partnerships across every domain because Trump's word is demonstrably worthless. Amel, I have a PhD in computer science and I use data analysis to spot patterns in geopolitics and economics. Here's why this matters beyond trade policy. When Trump struck the deal with the European Union in July 2025, officials on both sides stressed how it would ensure long-term stability to transatlantic trade. It was a fine idea. The Trump administration called the deal a generational modernization of the transatlantic alliance. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said it restores stability and predictability by locking in 15% tariffs on most European goods exported to the US. The entire point was creating a baseline both sides could rely on. 10 months later now, Trump unilaterally changed it because he was mad at Germany for criticizing his Iran war. Trump got what he wanted out of the deal, a reduction in tariffs on American exports and the establishment of a new permanent baseline tariff on European goods. European leaders felt like they'd won something. The 15% tariff was lower than the 25% tariff Trump had threatened previously, and the deal would stop Trump from hiking tariffs the next time he was in a bad mood. Europe negotiated specifically to avoid exactly what just happened, Trump arbitrarily raising tariffs whenever he felt like it. The deal failed to prevent that because Trump doesn't view agreements as binding constraints. He seems to view them as temporary positions subject to change at any moment for any reason. Let's just zoom in for a second on what makes this particularly ridiculous. European trade officials visited the White House just weeks ago and everyone seemed to be getting along. After that meeting, the US and EU announced a new joint partnership for some strategically important minerals. So the sequence is as follows: negotiate trade deal, both sides praise stability it creates, great, hold friendly follow-up meetings, announce new mineral partnerships, then Trump randomly blows up the original idea on social media, claiming Europe violated it even though it's not legally enforced yet. Bernd Lange, chair of the European Parliament's International Trade Committee, wrote on Twitter that Trump's sudden tariff hike was unacceptable. Trust is good, but against arbitraries, only clear rules help, he added. The piece that most coverage misses, I think, is that this is not just about tariffs, it's more about the complete erosion of American credibility. The whole point of a trade deal is to provide stability for individuals and businesses as they plan transactions and capital investments. A 15% tariff is costly, but a 15% tariff that could be hiked to 25% or higher at the drop of a hat will have consequences that go well beyond the higher taxes. European automakers now understand that any agreement with the United States under Trump is worthless. They cannot plan investments, can't structure supply chains, can't make multi-year commitments because the rules change on presidential whims. We've actually got a whole playlist on how Trump is systematically destroying American alliances. Check it out after this video. The tariff flip is one more example of why Europe is building alternatives. Those higher tariffs could cost automakers $4 billion just this year. Jennifer Safavian, CEO of Autos Drive America, told the Associated Press a tariff increase would, I'm quoting, threaten the progress that has already been made to open EU markets and grow the US auto industry. But Trump doesn't seem to care about the auto industry. He seems to care more about punishing Europe for not supporting his Iran war. Those tariffs would be another blow to an auto industry already suffering.
And a blow to American citizens. Because it's all going to come down on American citizens. When the automakers, the cars going to be more expensive, can't afford, and people ain't going to be want to buy a new car. And they're going to fuck up sales, and then the automakers going to have to cut back on certain expenses and lay off people, and it's a domino effect. Anyway.
From USA's tariffs on steel and aluminum.
Oh, shit. My speaker went out. I got to charge it up.
Line in.
And from the ongoing costs of Trump's illegal war with Iran. Thanks to the tariffs and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, aluminium prices are 90% higher than they were 1 year ago, according to the Wall Street Journal. And let's just be clear about what this means for European leaders trying to maintain transatlantic relationships. Germany's chancellor criticized Trump's Iran strategy on Monday. By Friday, Trump had withdrawn 5,000 troops from Germany and broken a trade deal that was supposed to provide generational stability. The message received in every European capital was basically any criticism of American policy results in immediate retaliation, and any agreement with Trump can be unilaterally torn up whenever he's angry. So why would European countries continue negotiating in good faith when the other party treats agreements as temporary suggestions? Bernd Lange called the move unacceptable and accused Trump of breaking yet another U.S. commitment. He also called Washington an unreliable trading partner, that is, a European Parliament committee chair publicly stating that the United States cannot be trusted to honor its commitments. I wish this was hyperbole, but it's actually just an accurate description of what just happened. A trade deal that can be torn up by one person at the drop of a hat is not really a trade deal at all, according to Reason magazine, and I think that assessment is correct. What Trump signed in July seems to have been more performance art, photo opportunities, and press releases designed to create the appearance of diplomacy while reserving complete freedom to change the terms later. Europe negotiated assuming American commitments meant something. Apparently they were wrong. Trump's sudden decision to hike tariffs has now put the entire deal at risk and once again escalated tensions with Europe. Convincing other countries to negotiate better trading terms with the US has been a central promise of Trump's tariff regime, but this new spat over imported cars shows that Trump still doesn't quite fully understand why trade deals matter in the first place. He seems to view them as leverage he can weaponize, not as binding commitments and agreements and contracts that create predictability for businesses and investors. It's not clear to me what Trump hopes to accomplish by slapping higher tariffs on European cars. Indeed, it's not even clear why he made this decision. The timing suggests retaliation for Germany refusing to support the Iran war and Merz criticizing US strategy, but the mechanism is ultimately what matters, right? Trump uses economic tools as punishment for political disagreements, which means any country negotiating with the United States must assume their agreements can be cancelled if they take positions Trump dislikes. When thinking about why institutions collapse when agreements become meaningless like this, my book Awake, the Practice of Critical Thinking in an Age of Self-Lies walks through exactly this. I'm also left OPEC after 59 years and is considering pricing oil in yuan. Germany rejected Palantir and is building European defense AI alternatives. 6 European governments forced officials off American messaging apps. Jerome Powell.
Oh yeah, they're talking about some European countries are reject or they don't want to have nothing to do with some of their tech like operating systems, and like she just said earlier. What else? Oh, these countries. Oh, military. Recently, yeah, they like Spain, I believe Germany. Some of them are threatening the United States if you fly over our country. Over here, even in the Middle East. Yeah, they rejected them not to fly on their land their military equipment. The hell was that? Oh, they looking at this bug outside crawling somewhere. Well, anyway, yeah, they threatening the United States. Say you fly over this country with your military equipment, we're gonna shoot your ass down. I don't know if that's a European country. I think that was a country in the so-called Middle East. But they say shit because they expecting to get some protection from the U.S. But the United States turn their back on them. And the same way with some of these European countries. But anyway, yeah, this alliance and shit is breaking up. It's being disconnected. And that's hey man, Yahweh Shemal Shah making that happen. Yeah, making all these allies hate this bitch, America.
From the Fed blocked Trump from controlling the Fed. King Charles himself defended NATO while Trump just watched. Germany outproduces American ammunition now, and now Trump breaks.
Sure does. Yeah, that's right. You sure it is. Yeah, they producing more than America. Damn, that's sad.
It's a trade deal 10 months after signing it. Every single one of these events is Europe or American institutions building independence from Trump's unreliability. I think the contradiction is complete. Trump claims his tariffs force better deals, but breaking deals destroys the incentive for anyone to negotiate seriously. Why would China, Japan, or any other trading partner invest time in trade agreements if Trump can unilaterally change the terms on social media whenever he is upset? Trump's threat to blow up the EU trade deal
But of course, it's all been done deliberately to bring in the chip implants.
Reminds the ability of private citizens and businesses in other parts of the world to invest in the United States. This is not strategic. It appears to me to be more self-destructive. Europe spent months negotiating
But the Lord is making this happen.
this deal specifically to avoid tariff volatility. They got Trump to agree to a 15% baseline, fair enough, gave him concessions on American exports and called it a generational achievement. 10 months later, Trump hiked tariffs to 25% anyway, so the lesson for European leaders or anyone else watching is negotiations with Trump are theater, not really substance. Build alternatives instead. Germany just rejected Palantir for military cloud infrastructure because relying on American technology means accepting American control. We analyzed that decision in the video on your screen right now. I think it's definitely worth watching because the trade deal collapse is just one more example of why Europe cannot depend on American commitments, whether it's defense tech, trade agreements, troop presence, or any other partnership. Trump just proved Europe's entire decoupling strategy is justified by breaking his own deal less than a year after signing it. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe, and I'll see you all. The 2026 FIFA World Cup starts June 11th, just 5 weeks from today, and Trump's immigration policies are creating what international media is calling a controlled explosion.
And they canceled that shit. And some people saying that it's happening. But canceling it would be perfect to have the Hunter virus spread if that shit is real. But I don't know if is it really canceled. She's saying it is, but let me see on Google if that's true or not. They might go forward with it. They might reschedule it for some other day. I don't know. This is hotels are slashing World Cup rates as FIFA canceled. Wow. FIFA holding another last-minute World Cup ticket drop. Bans fans for teams. FIFA canceled hundreds of hotel reservations in Philadelphia. Is FIFA being discounted? It's announced that the EA and FIFA partnership of the 30 years would come to an end upon the termination of their licensing agreements. I guess EA, they talking about Electronic Arts, FIFA. I just noticed they changed the name from FIFA to World Cup for EA Sports games. You know, they used to be say EA 2020. No, what was it? FIFA 2020, FIFA 2021. But now it's World Cup. I think it's WC 2023 or 5 or 10, 6 or whatever the fuck. Anyway, let me get back to that woman video. And if it says canceled, it probably is canceled. Most likely. Just like a lot of things are being canceled. Things are going downhill. Hey, the Murph is dying. Let me get to that. The Murph is dying. Not just here in America, but it's all over the world. But this is about America. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. No, Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Damn, I can't even get the number right. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1. Now, can I move this? This fucking mouse acting stupid. I had to change my mouse out because yesterday, the mouse that's they go with his keyboard, it started goofing out on me, man. The speed, I don't know. You got to change the was it a DIP or the DPI? I think it was a DPI. Speed, it keeps, when I'm raising it up, it's going down. I don't know why. So I had to get this other wireless mouse and use it. Anyway, where I was at. Oh yeah, a good name is better than a precious ornament, and a day of death than the day of one's birth. It is better to go to the house of mourning. Yeah. Feel some pain, feel some depression. I mean, I don't say depression or feel depressed, but it's better to be that way instead of being in the house of mirth just looking for fun all the damn time. Nothing wrong with having fun, but sometimes you got to have a balance. Especially, I mean, anyway, then to go to the house of feasting, where you stay just in the good spirits all the time, but then these people are not ready for the bad times to come. That's why I'm saying it's good to have some kind of balance. Shit. But these people don't want to feel bad all the time. They want to feel good all the time. But like I say, you got to be balanced. But it's right now, it's pretty good to feel some, feel some pain. Because you're going, hey man, pain going to be growing when all hell break loose. Jacob Trouble go full throttle, 9,000 RPMs to the engine blow up. For that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance of the heart is made better. The heart of the wise the heart of the wise is in the house of mourning. So you're wise if you're mourning. Yeah, you praying the Lord have mercy on you because it's gonna get bad out here. But the heart of the fools is in the house of mirth. And these are a bunch of fools out there nothing wrong with. Well, one thing for sure, you want to stay the hell out of places that's got a lot of gatherings, big gatherings. Now, definitely. What they say about Apostle Tahar had a list of he had a video about a list of places you need to stay the hell away from now these times. Because, hey, man, redeeming time because the days are evil. From sporting events, concerts, shit, what else was there? And I understand you might work around that stuff. Some brothers and sisters got jobs. They had to be around stuff like that, working around stadiums or whatever, doing security or concession stuff. Or being out there in the, just being there. But then what else? Cruise ships. That's another place with a lot of people on. And hell, you pretty much stuck on that bitch. From many miles away, surrounded by a bunch of other people on one damn boat. And look what's going on with them folks on that boat. And they all that hunter virus shit. But anyway, sporting events, whatever. You see this shit being canceled. I don't know if it really is. Let me get back to the video. I forgot about this video.
4 countries whose teams are qualified for the World Cup fall under Trump's travel ban: Haiti, Iran, Ivory Coast, and Senegal. There is a presidential proclamation suggesting that players, team officials, and immediate family members from the 4 countries will be granted visas, but fans are blocked. Haiti qualified for the World Cup for the first time since 1974. All their group stage matches are in the United States. Haitian citizens cannot attend. America is hosting the world's biggest sporting event while banning fans of teams playing in the U.S. That is not just...
That's ridiculous, bro. How they gonna get their money? Yeah.
bad optics, it is undermining the entire purpose of hosting. Amel, I have a PhD in computer science and I use data analysis to spot patterns in geopolitics and economics. Here's why this matters beyond one tournament. The US government has placed 39 countries under visa restrictions and introduced a $15,000 visa bond for fans from 50 nations. The average annual income in Algeria, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Tunisia, Cape Verde is approximately $5,000. A $15,000 visa bond represents 3 full years of income. For a family of 4 wanting to attend one group stage match, the bond requirement makes World Cup attendance simply impossible. Trump just priced out entire continents from attending matches their teams are playing. Iran requested its Group G matches be moved to Canada or Mexico, citing safety concerns. FIFA rejected the request on April 12th, with President Gianni Infantino saying matches will be played as scheduled. The Iranian Football Federation president said Iran would boycott US matches but not withdraw from the tournament. Iran plays all Group G matches in the United States, so Iran will boycott matches they're required to play. FIFA insists those matches happen in the USA, and Iranian fans cannot enter the country anyway. This is not really a sporting event anymore. It is a geopolitical standoff disguised as football.
Okay, so that's what this what is like canceled. Like they still gonna, I guess they gonna still have the event. It just fans not gonna be welcome. People from other countries are not gonna be welcome. I don't know. Anyway, like I give a flying fuck. I just want this shit to be destroyed.
Just zoom in on what this looks like for specific teams. Haiti qualified for the World Cup for the first time in over 50 years, making the achievement even more remarkable given they couldn't play in their home stadium or train inside their own country. Their journey demonstrates that there is still hope for Haiti and that determination and talent can triumph despite adversity, said Regine Etienne, Haiti's acting consular general in Boston. Haiti's first match is June 13th against Scotland, played in the US. The Haiti flag will fly with those of some of the world's most powerful nations, but Haiti's citizens will not be able to travel to cheer them on. A team that overcame civil war and political collapse to qualify cannot bring their own fans because Trump banned Haiti immigration. I think the piece that most coverage misses is that this undermines American soft power more than any diplomatic failure. When asked if Mexico was open to hosting Iran's matches, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said, yes, Mexico maintains diplomatic relations with every country in the world, therefore we will wait to see what FIFA decides.
What's up with that? Well, probably because the Scheinbach bitch is a baby dick sucker. Yeah.
That phrasing alone, Mexico maintains diplomatic relations with every country, I think is a pointed contrast to America banning 4 teams' fans. Mexico is positioned as the reasonable co-host while the USA creates chaos. We've actually got a whole playlist on how Trump's policies are destroying American credibility. Check it out if...
Yeah, Amalek, like, don't you fuck that money up. I don't know, man.
This one, the World Cup disaster, is yet another example. The ACLU and Amnesty International led 120 rights group issuing a U.S. World Cup travel advisory, warning fans, players, journalists, and visitors to exercise caution and have an emergency contingency plan. The advisory warned of arbitrary denial of entry and risk of arrest, detention, or deportation at points of entry, pointing to Customs and Border Protection agents' broad discretion to admit, detain, or deny entry. That's 120 human rights organizations telling millions of potential visitors that attending the World Cup in the USA poses safety risks. ACLU Human Rights Program Director Jamil Dakwar said, I'm quoting here,
I'm going to stop right there. I don't really give a fuck. Oh, anyway. I'm mishearing certain things of being spoke. But whatever. I give a fuck. I just want this bitch to be destroyed. Let's get to the next video. It says FIFA cancels 2,000 rooms as a hotel. Yeah, anyway, for hotel rooms. Anyway, they go to title. If you want to watch the rest of the video, they go to channel. Let's get to the next video.
German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul presented a 6-point plan for the reform of the European Union, in which he insists on large-scale reforms to make the EU more capable, especially in foreign policy and security. Speaking at an event organized by the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, Wadephul said, I'm quoting, I would like to name 6 very specific points. First, we want to use the enhanced cooperation mechanism in Brussels more often. This means that in those policy areas where joint progress by all 27 member states is unattainable in the foreseeable future, we will move forward with a small group of countries. Europe is reliable and consistent, Wadephul said, but we must simultaneously become more agile, flexible, and innovative. So this is not weakness. It's basically Europe recognizing that institutional paralysis creates strong vulnerability and building the capacity to act decisively even when not all 27 members agree. Amel, I have a PhD in computer science and I use data analysis to spot patterns in geopolitics and economics. Here's why this matters beyond EU procedural reform. Wadephul calls for replacing the principle of unanimity in foreign policy issues with a qualified majority vote to prevent prolonged blockages by individual countries. I'm quoting again, states that don't want to or perhaps can't stay outside for now, but don't block those who want to move forward, he basically explained. That is pointed phrasing. Can't is diplomatic language for countries under external influence or whose governments lack capacity. Don't want to cover those deliberately obstructing for political leverage. The mechanism is essentially countries willing to act can proceed, those unwilling stay outside but don't block progress. Wadefel's proposal echoes earlier plans for a core Europe, such as those Wolfgang Schäuble and Karl Lammers proposed in 1994. This is not exactly new thinking. Is Germany finally pushing seriously for reforms that multiple foreign ministers have identified as necessary? The difference now is urgency. Ukraine proved that EU paralysis has life and death consequences sometimes. German Foreign Minister Johann Vadeful has issued a stark warning, asserting that the European Union's dependency on unanimity could endanger its own security. Speaking in Berlin, he suggested this rule could be life-threatening, especially seen in the context of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and wider. That is basically Germany publicly stating what everybody knows on security questions. The current unanimity principle creates existential danger because it is about life and death, which you can clearly see every day in Ukraine. A future crisis requiring rapid EU response could be blocked by a single country, whether due to Russian influence, domestic politics, strategic blackmail, you name it. And I think the piece most coverage will miss is that this directly addresses Hungary's months-long blockade of EU financial aid to Ukraine. Vadeful pointed to recent tensions with Hungary over EU-backed aid to Ukraine as a clear example of the system's flaws. I'm quoting again, "We should abolish the unanimity principle in EU foreign and security policy before the end of the current legislative period." He also added that the bloc needs to become truly grown up and capable of acting decisively. I think that's very pointed. Without naming names, everyone kind of knows this targets the blockades that held European security policy hostage to domestic politics. We've actually got a whole playlist on how Europe is systematically building independence and capacity. Check it out after this. Ending veto power in foreign policy is fundamental institutional reform, enabling everything else. Under the qualified majority system proposed by Vadeful, an EU decision would require support from at least 55% of member states, representing 65% of the bloc's population. Another quote, "All the experience we have gained over recent weeks with aid for Ukraine and sanctions on Russia indicates this is necessary." He argued that such a change would allow the EU to respond more swiftly to global crisis, from military conflicts to economic pressure campaigns. That mechanism already works. The EU makes thousands of decisions annually using qualified majority voting. Only foreign and security policy remains stuck in unanimity paralysis. Vadeful underscored the necessity.
Alright, this video ain't about America. No, I want to be all about America. A little bit about other countries, but mostly about America being shitted on. Let's get to this last video, and I'm going to hopefully close it out with some more scriptures.
China and the United States may now be heading toward one of the most dangerous economic confrontations in decades, and this time the battlefield, if you will, is oil, banking, and the global financial system itself. In a stunning move, Beijing has now formally ordered Chinese companies to ignore U.S. sanctions that target major Chinese oil refineries that are accused of buying Iranian crude. The move marks the first time that China officially activated its 2021 blocking rules against American sanctions enforcement, and the implications could reach far beyond energy markets. Because this is no longer just about Iran. This is about whether the United States can still enforce its financial power globally, or whether China is now openly prepared to challenge it head-on. Needless to say, the timing could not be more explosive. The decision comes only weeks before an expected meeting between U.S. President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. At the center of the dispute are 5 Chinese refineries that the United States Treasury Department sanctioned back in April for allegedly processing Iranian crude oil in violation of American sanctions. As a side note, let's remember that the United States sanctions regime is not international law. It is not international law. So Washington imposed these sanctions on Chinese refineries, accusing the firms of helping generate billions of dollars in revenue for Tehran while undermining the United States' quote-unquote maximum pressure campaign against Iran. But Beijing is refusing to cooperate. In fact, it is doing the opposite. China's Ministry of Commerce has now issued a prohibition order telling entities operating in China that they must not comply with U.S. sanctions against the targeted refiners. And so that creates an extraordinary legal collision. Any company or bank that obeys American sanctions could now be violating Chinese law, but any institution that follows Beijing's order risks punishment from Washington, including devastating sanctions and potential exclusion from the United States dollar financial system. In other words, multinational corporations are suddenly trapped between the world's 2 largest economies, and there may be no safe side to choose in this instance. Among the companies specifically protected by Beijing is Hengli Petrochemicals Dalian Refinery, one of China's most advanced private refining companies. The order also shields 4 independent quote-unquote teapot refineries. And these are very interesting because these teapot refineries may sound obscure, but they actually play a critical role in global energy markets. Over the past several years, they became major buyers of discounted Iranian crude oil, which of course helps Tehran continue exporting its energy despite having U.S. sanctions. Because these independent refiners are smaller and more flexible than Chinese state-owned giants, they are often willing to accept the political and financial risks that are associated with Iranian oil. Now, For Iran, this relationship, of course, has become an economic lifeline, but for Washington, it has become a sanctions nightmare. As we know very well, the United States has long relied on the dominance of the dollar-based financial system to enforce its foreign policy objectives. Coercion, economic coercion is the key word. Even foreign companies outside U.S. jurisdiction often comply with American sanctions because they fear losing access to the U.S. banking system. That is the reason why they comply. They don't comply because U.S. sanctions are part of international law. They're not. But the cost of non-compliance is so high that it is easier for them to just go along with it. And so that leverage has been one of Washington's most powerful geopolitical weapons for decades. But China's latest move signals that Beijing may now be willing to directly challenge that system. Chinese officials argue that U.S. sanctions represent illegal extraterritorial enforcement, essentially accusing Washington of trying to impose American law on foreign companies operating outside the United States. And, well, let's just be honest, it's hard to argue with that logic. That's precisely what it is. Beijing says its response is grounded in China's anti-foreign sanctions law and its blocking rules framework. Both of those are designed to counter foreign pressure campaigns. And this is where the situation becomes extremely dangerous for global businesses. Imagine you are a major international bank that operates in China. If you comply with U.S. sanctions and refuse transactions linked to these Chinese refiners, to these 5 Chinese refiners, you could now face lawsuits, regulatory penalties, or operational restrictions inside China. Clearly, you don't want that. Well, Beijing's rules even allow Chinese firms to seek compensation in Chinese courts against entities that comply with foreign sanctions. But if you are an international bank and you choose to ignore U.S. restrictions and continue facilitating payments connected to Iranian crude, Washington could retaliate with secondary sanctions, which could be extremely costly. That could mean losing access to the dollar clearing system, effectively a financial death sentence for many international institutions. Nobody wants that too. Now, Iranian oil exports have already proven remarkably resilient despite years of U.S. pressure. Much of that resilience actually comes from Chinese demand. By purchasing discounted Iranian crude, Chinese refiners actually help keep Iranian exports flowing while also benefiting from cheaper feedstock. So it does benefit both sides. The United States Treasury has steadily expanded sanctions enforcement against firms involved in Iranian oil trade. But sanctioning refineries is one thing, you would agree. Expanding pressure toward Chinese banks is something completely different. It is far more serious. So it is not surprising that China perceives this as foreign interference. I believe Washington wouldn't tolerate it either, because once banks become targets, the entire payment infrastructure behind oil transactions comes under threat as well. The Chinese government understands that if it allows Washington to dictate which foreign energy supplies Chinese companies can purchase and which they cannot purchase, which they're not allowed to purchase by a foreign actor, by Washington, China risks surrendering strategic economic sovereignty. So this all goes back to sovereignty, to having the ability to act according to your interests. From Beijing's perspectives, this is not simply about Iran. It is about preventing the United States from controlling China's energy security. Relations between the United States and China are already strained by trade disputes, by technology restrictions, Taiwan tensions, military competition in the Pacific, and of course competing visions for the global order. Now energy sanctions are becoming another front in that struggle. And there's another critical issue beneath the surface, de-dollarization. I frequently discuss it here on my channel, and I want to briefly touch upon it here as well. Of course, this does not mean that the dollar is collapsing tomorrow. It's not going to collapse tomorrow. But every confrontation
It will collapse soon.
like this pushes major powers to want to reduce dependence on American-controlled infrastructure, and it pushes them to devise new tools, to create new frameworks, to transact in local currencies or to transact in yuan, in rupees, or whatever that currency may be in that particular instance. And Beijing's latest move suggests China may believe that the time has come to push back more aggressively. The time has come to be more assertive. It is becoming a direct...
Hey man, Joel chapter 3, and you see what he's talking about. I ain't gonna read the whole scripture, but at verse 2 at the end said, "Let the weak say I am strong." That's China. The Lord is making China more stronger, especially when it comes to military, but financially, yeah, China's stepping their game up, and they're going up against America. And I really don't give a fuck. As long as them motherfuckers get their ass whooped by the Lord, that's all that matters to me. And you know, with all this conflict going on when it comes to the money, it's gonna ultimately lead to that chip implant. I ain't gonna be bothered to break all that down. It's just gonna come down to that chip implant, the mark of the beast. Because all these countries going at with one another, if it's about military might to financial, whatever, whoever's stronger at all that stuff, all the people gonna suffer. The regular people gonna suffer, no matter where you from. Yeah. And they're going to be issuing out a chip implant. And then, you know, and when it comes to the New World Order, now all these nations are playing ball, and America going outside of their lane. They should be staying in their lane. And some country might be out of their lane, but they should be staying in their lane. Still, I mean, there's going to be some friction or some conflict with these nations when it comes to the New World Order being established, but still the market will be still going to be pushed out. And you still want to be, trying to build up your faith and trust in Yahweh Shema Shah, no matter what these niggas are doing. Let all these heathens goddamn have they, do what they do. Anyway, let me get back to the video. Let me minimize this.
Struggle over who sets the rules of the global economy and whether the era.
Yeah, see, they're all fighting for who's gonna make the rules. In America, Esau over here in America, he's a proud monkey ass nigga. He always want to have control, and he only being controlled by Amalek anyway. But they always want control. Yep. But they're gonna lose it.
Of uncontested American financial dominance is beginning to fracture. Let us know what your thoughts are on this issue. Do you?
My thoughts is this bitch coming to an end, but before it comes to an end, it's gonna be a lot of craziness that's about to go down. Let me go ahead and read this. Was it Isaiah chapter 47 verse 1? Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Talk about America. Sit on the ground. All these nations are making America look like a laughing stock. And that's, hey man, that's Yahweh Shema Shah. Like I said, he's making these nations, these weak nations, become strong. Yep, and mightier than America. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for there shall no more be called tender and delicate. Sit in the take the millstone and grind meal, uncover the locks, and make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers, thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance. So the Lord is exposing America for who he truly is, and what America truly is, and what is it about, and pretty much making it be known worldwide and making them a laughing stock or mockery or derision. And I will not meet thee as a man, and that's Yahweh Shah gonna come down. Over there he gonna show himself as not as a man, like a mortal man, but as an angelic being of power, godlike power. I'm gonna start right there. Let me get one more scripture and close out. I'm trying to fight myself to go out, and I got a daggone switch lawnmowers, because the lawnmower I've been normally using, the mulch on demand setup. Oh, praise Yahweh Shema Shah, the water Yahweh Shema Shah. I'm just looking at this device and it said 144 on it. It's still saying 144. It's just charging through a solar charge thing. And it says 1 hour left and 44 watts going in. But anyway, yeah, I got a daggone switch mowers and such, because this other mower here, the damn mulch on demand kit, I can't stand it. John Deere, I hate John Deere. They make shit too fucking complicated. It's not even necessary. I mean, seriously, the stuff they put on there is like, is it necessary to have all this extra shit? No. Anyway, I might have to fix this damn thing myself instead of taking it to the shop. But anyway, and then they charge you so much for that crap to be fixed. It's absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, and I will not be. I already read that part. I gotta go somewhere else. I gotta get one more scripture. Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Why is that? Because America suck. It's about to be destroyed. The Lord is laying a smackdown on this place. Be not cut off in her iniquity. All the sin that been built up in this place is nasty. It's wicked. For this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her recompense, payback. Babylon, time on America, has been a golden cup in the Lord's hands that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Their philosophy, they took it in the ways of America, how to, they follow in the ways of America, dressing like America, talking like America, trying to emulate America. And now that shit's failing, because now, the people there are fucking going crazy, mad. They going homosexual yeah. And even not just as mad, like insane, but also angry too. They've been affected by the American disease, the Babylonian disease. Therefore, the nations are mad. Babylon, America, is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take bomb for her pain, so she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. The Lord is not going to fix this place. Nope, there's no fixing, no kissing, the boo-boo, none of that shit. Let it burn. No, let it bleed out, and then the Lord gonna burn it, because it's infected, and he gonna kill it. But she is not healed. Forsake her. Let her be, man. And let us go, everyone, to his own country. People that came here to America to make money, now they're leaving out here because ain't no money to be made. So they leaving out here, go back to their homeland, and you got born and raised Americans leaving with them. Yep, they're leaving America, and they said, shit, we're going to try to make a home here in this other country, which they don't know nothing about it. They don't know, they can't even speak the language, but they going to live there until they ass get destroyed there too. Because you can't run away from judgment. When the Lord got something for your ass, he going to deliver to you. So, hey, best thing you need to do, no matter where you at, seek the Lord and repent to Yahweh Shema Shah, for her judgment reaches onto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. So that's all I got to say. But when I say seek the Lord, seek him by seeking the prophets and take heed to what to say, and try to build a spiritual mental relationship with Yahweh Shema Shah by praying Yahweh Shema Shah, praising Yahweh Shema Shah, worshiping Yahweh Shema Shah, fearing Yahweh Shema Shah, and repenting of Yahweh Shema Shah. To all the men out there pushing their truth and nothing but the truth in the name, spirit, and the power of Yahweh Shema Shah. Keep on preaching, keep on teaching, keep your faith and trust strong. Yahweh Shema Shah, stay humble. And for you few sisters out there taking heed, keep your faith and trust strong. Yahweh Shema Shah, stay humble, stay in order with your man. If you ain't got no man, stay in order with Yahweh Shema Shah. Peace and bless to the hopeful elect, and all praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. Shalom.